And I'm going to read you guys this stuff out of a book, Cracking the Harley Code, Myth and Mystery of the First Harley-Davidson Motorcycle, 1901 and 1905 by Herbert Wagner. Now, this book is a Harley-Davidson reader. It is, or was, put out by Motor Books. And I did some posting on Instagram. Those of you guys who are not following me on Instagram, if you got a smartphone, you really need to follow me on Instagram. There's a ton of stuff I post that are not really worth a video. And I'm not going to read all this to you because it's extensive. So we're just going to capitalize on the interesting stuff. This is the real history that we know of, that we've been able to decipher for Harley-Davidson. I'm in agreement with everything that is saying. This is their first factory, supposedly. That's what they say. Here's the reality. This 10 by 15 foot shed with no electrical service was an unlikely place to build motorcycles from scratch, and probably another 1903 myth. The name on the door may be the work of a commercial artist who retouched the photograph around 1909 for advertising purposes, Bruce Lindsay. The shack's a myth. Didn't happen. They didn't have a bike in 1903. Just simply didn't happen. They were fucking around with bicycles, trying to figure out what they're doing. Here's another advertisement. 8 years ago, we placed on the market the first model of the Harley-Davidson motorcycle. Goes on to describe it, just 8 years, blah, blah, blah. Here's the reality. Old Harley-Davidson enthusiasts and collectors have long known that early ads and other material place Harley-Davidson's market introduction in every year between 1901 and 1905. This ad from 1910 claims that 1902 was the year of introduction. Original evidence shows that 1905 was actually Harley-Davidson's first production year, motorcycling. And here we have an actually produced 1903 motorcycle called the Merkel. And Merkel is famous for coming out of Middletown, Ohio. The reality is it started in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I suspect they left Milwaukee because Harley-Davidson copied their motorcycle. Around the time in 1903, the boys were finishing up their little motorized bicycle experiment. The innovative loop frame Merkel was just hitting the market. 1904 prototype and 1905 first model Harleys with such dead ringers for the Merkel that it appears young Bill Harley was inspired by this earlier Milwaukee-built product. While the Merkel brand would fade away in time, the lookalike Harley-Davidson would go on to achieve immortality. Cycle and Automobile Trade Journal. And here we have a 1904 drawing. The 1904 Harley prototype may have been configured much like this line drawing published in early 1905, and almost certainly the work of Bill Harley himself. With low handlebar, small seat, and lack of fenders, this oldest known visual representation of a Harley-Davidson motorcycle suggests a racing machine. Cycle and Automobile Trade Journal. You guys, if you want to know what all this stuff says, you gotta get the book. So we're just capitalizing on everything here. Now here on the left, we have a 1905. The earliest known photo of an altered Harley-Davidson. It's a mailman's Harley-Davidson in a brand new 1906. And it says, the early appeal of the Harley-Davidson is evident in the 1906 photograph, and when Pete Olson's bike left is an early 1905 model that may have been the third Harley ever built. Third Harley ever built. With those baskets, it was probably the first custom Harley in existence. 2, Arthur Davidson Wright. That's Arthur Davidson right there. That's the man. He's on a new 1906 model they had just ridden out from Milwaukee. George Dickinson rear impatiently waits for the photo session to end so he can take possession of his new machine. That's the new owner there. And here we have their first known advertisement. This is Harley-Davidson's first known advertisement and dates from January 1905. Notice that the only bare engines were offered at that time. The first complete bikes were available for sale beginning in April 1905. Cycle and Automobile Trade Journal. There it is. Here we have, compared to much of its competition, the 1905 Harley-Davidson had the advantage of being a second-generation motorcycle of advanced design. Loop frame, powerful engine, flexible belt drive, good looks, and durable construction were key elements of success. Richard Morster. There's the bike. There. And this is their biggest competition. You have to understand, Indian had the backing of Hendy, who's a multimillionaire. Harley-Davidson didn't get financing, and only $50,000 in that in 1907. The first factory. A wheelman who's up to date. Looks just like a bicycle. Compared to the Harley-Davidson 1905, the established Indian motorcycle was more bicycle-like and obsolescent with a design that dated back to 1901. Little wonder that the heavier, more powerful, and up-to-date Harley achieved rapid popularity and instant cut-like status among early riders. Bicycle World and Motorcycle Review. And here we have the early false claims about Harley's first year on the market apparently came from HD's first ad manager, S. Lacy Creolis, shown here on an early twin. His well-intended but inaccurate claims have full generations of Harley historians. Motorcycle Illustrated. Now that early twin would have been the 09 failed twin that was recalled back to the factory. See the little toe box in the back? That's an 09. None exist. None exist at all. But we have that photo. Crazy to mention what it was. This is Hold State Motorcycle Record. Right here. This newspaper clipping, a photo from June 1905, is the first known action shot of a Harley-Davidson motorcycle in the real world making good. Rider is Perry E. Mack. Most likely the Perry E. Mack that would found Waverly, Jefferson, BEM. Shown after setting a speed record on Milwaukee State Fair Park horse track. I know he used to ride. D. Perry E. Mack, he started racing Harleys. So I'm surprised I didn't mention that. And here's my man Bruce Lindsay right there on his 1905. Here's the motor. Oil splattered, but still game for more after its 462.5 mile trip from Ohio. Bruce Lindsay's 1905 Harley motor was among the first dozen or so ever built. His own ride home 98 years later demonstrated that early Harley-Davidson reliability was no myth. Photograph Herbert Wagner. And the other one is Bruce Lindsay's ride his 1905 Harley, nicknamed Tommy, after riding it from Ohio to Milwaukee in 2003. Photo was taken outside the Genoa Avenue plant during the 100th celebration as John Harley Jr. left. The author's brother Tom Wagner looked on. Photograph Herbert Wagner. It's a very, very important historical book for anybody who actually wants to know about these motorcycles. So it talks about production numbers here. If I can find it. Here we go. A good design and racing success would boost Harley-Davidson beyond all expectation. Production jumped to around 50 in 1906, to 150 in 1907, and to 450 in 1908. Remember, they didn't really get a factory until 1907. They got $50,000 in financing. Already in 1907, Harley-Davidson was claiming that there were copycat imitations of its bike on the market. The greatest early success came in 1908 when Walter Davidson gave such a sterling performance in the National Endurance Contest through New York's Catskill Mountains. He was awarded the Diamond Medal and Better Than Perfect Score with 1,000 plus 5 points. I highly suggest you get this book. Herbert Wagner wrote it. And if you really, really want to know early Harley history, a lot of really good stuff in there. And we'll continue posting these photos of this book on Instagram, and anything else that's really pertinent that everybody needs to know, we'll make a video. See you guys later.